Want your drone footage to look instantly more cinematic? Today I'll be showing 5 simple moves for anyone can master. And stay tuned, because at the end of this video I'll be sharing with you a bonus tip that is my personal favourite. First up is the push-in, flying the drone forward towards your subject. This creates a dramatic push-in for the viewer into the scene. This is great for establishing a building, a person, or a natural landmark. Pro tip: keep your subject in the center of the frame and fly smoothly. Personally, I would also recommend filming as wide as possible if you're, depending on what drone you're using. Of course, will depend on whether you have multiple lenses, but if you can, try and film on the 8mm equivalent. That I will be, all the sample footage is filmed around 8mm also. Try and have some foreground that you're going to fly through so that it really sells that larger motion, because if you don't really get to see the subtle movements or the movements that you're going to be doing as a whole. The next is the pullback. This is the opposite to the push-in. Start close to your subject and fly backwards to reveal the larger location. This can make shots feel cinematic and add context to your story. The trick is to fly, like everything, smooth and steady. You can also do this in combination with a riser, which is going to be the next one specifically, where you bring the drone back and you pull and you go up in vertical whilst tilting your gimbal down simultaneously, and then you're pulling back and slowly establishing the scene. But just keeping this really nice and simple. Your pullback is just where you start quite close to your subject and then you pull back, revealing the rest of your environment as a whole. A riser is very simple but powerful. Just lift the drone straight up whilst keeping the camera pointed down or angled. This is perfect to show scale, cities, forests or landscapes. For extra cinematic movement, combine the riser with a camera tilt. But if you can, try to also have some foreground to reveal your subject from. And then as you climb in that riser, specifically try to keep your subject in the same place in the frame so that you're able to adjust that gimbal tilt slightly. So as the drone's traveling upwards, your gimbal is then tilting down and it will change a really nice perspective as well. Number 4 is top down. Pointing the camera specifically down gives a very unique perspective that's only achievable from a drone or a helicopter. Directing specifically right down. This is really, really good for cinematic or symmetrical scenes. So if you have a path or you have a road or a river or a coastline, anything like that, then you can obviously frame that in the center of the frame, and then you can fly horizontally and or vertically and twist as well. It's additional, but also you can do flying up as well. I personally do it to transition from ground footage when in, say, woodland or a nature scene, then to show the establish above the trees, etc. In that respect as well. Number 5 is a jib. This mimics a Hollywood crane shot. Move the drone either up or down whilst tilting the camera. So this is a great reveal for tall structures and add drama to a scene. The classic version is flying up whilst tilting the camera down. So personally, something I've tried to do is you try and travel in a diagonal like this whilst keeping the camera and your subject in a very similar place. So this will require you to start with your gimbal facing into your scene, and in most cases you'll have your subject center framed, and then as you travel up the axis that you're traveling up in that diagonal line, you then need to readjust your gimbal in a similar way so that when you hit the top of that move, that the gimbal is then pointing down and your subject has stayed in a very similar place in the middle as well. So if you shoot on higher resolution, then of course you can reframe and recrop in post, but if you can, try and do it in camera where possible. It will take some practice, it will take some time, and this is something that can really add, because it shows that dynamic change from quite close to the ground all the way up to however high you do it specifically, and of course always fly in safe conditions and safe way as a whole. And as a bonus tip, here's bonus 1, as I promised, the parallax. This is where the drone flies sideways around a subject in the background, shifts behind it. This adds depth and can look super cinematic, and your drone has a point of interest or orbit mode, you can nail this shot. However, personally, I would look to master this just with your own controls. And if you do have either the DJI Mini 5 Pro with its 2x lossless crop or any drone with a telephoto lens, the best thing to do in my view is to crop in when you're on that 2x zoom, 3x zoom, 4x zoom, whichever you are in. You want to move the gimbal slightly, again, small amount of movement, but you want to move it in the opposite direction to the drone. So let's say the drone is moving from left to right, you would want to then move as it does the move, and as it moves in a horizontal line, you then want to shift the gimbal in the opposite direction so that your subject stays roughly in the same place, and if you can, ideally stay in the same place, and then the background should shift behind and it looks really cinematic, and it's one of my favorite shots to get. Of course, you can use these pre-built modes, but as I say, I would personally learn how to fly, because you may be in a situation where you don't have GPS and you can't use quick shot and etc. So yeah, and I think also you'd be a more skilled operator and be able to actually fly safer, I would say, if you are just flying during these more manual modes as a whole. So that's all the drone moves I'm going to be talking about today. Thank you ever so much for joining me once again. If you did enjoy this video and you're new to the channel, want to be subscribed, YouTube believes you'll enjoy this video, so why not check it out? And I'll see you very, very soon.